Welcome, everyone. This is All Minus One Quick Shots. Guys, today I want to talk to you about the State of the Union. And I don't mean the presidential speech that is given by the president every year that is to be determined currently by the Biden administration, if we even get that, with their draconian lockdown of Washington, D.C. But I mean, in a greater sense, the State of the Union is an absolute mess. And one of the reasons why it is such a thing is because a lack of leadership exists. And that is because we have had a society that has diminished and degraded masculinity to the utmost within our society. So much so that men are essentially feeling left out. They don't want to participate. They don't want to have children because they see the cost of getting married and the potential of marrying the wrong person. I've had this experience myself, although maybe I was a little bit too young and naive or didn't maintain my principles. But either way, my own fault, right? They don't look at it that way because they've been brainwashed and indoctrinated into thinking wrongly. And let me not parse my words here. I don't mean wrong think as in what the left talks about, but I mean having a proper attitude, a spirit, if you would, the correct mindset toward marriage, children, all of those things, right? This is leadership. Now, I learned very early on leadership principles in the military, and I've applied them through all aspects of my life except for my personal relationships. And those personal relationships were not good for a long time. Thank the Lord that I have the beautiful, wonderful woman I am with now, but that took a lot of self-work and self-reflection. But in any case, the State of the Union is a weakness of men and their leadership, and a place where it is supposed to be. It is supposed to be your daddy. It's supposed to take care of you. It is supposed to educate you, teach you, hold you, give you the handout that you want, and completely, basically, neuter you. Take any sort of virility out of who you are. Defang you, if you would. Declaw you. Make you weak and passive. This, my friends, this is not manhood. This is slavery. That is what slavery is. It is the pacification of the individual to then, therefore, be on the dole of the master. And I know I've kind of maybe been harping on this a good bit, but I want to give you some ideas or some points of how bad the State of the Union has gotten with this. When we have open articles within the New York Times, the paper of record, I don't know why it ever was or ever was considered that at all, considering they were covering up, if I'm not mistaken, the Holocaust during the time. They later on were covering up the Holodomor and gulags in Soviet Russia and whatever else. I mean, the New York Times is just a leftist progressive newspaper, always has been, more or less. It is secular, it is wicked and evil. Do they cover actual good news on occasion? Sure, I'll give them that. But their opinion pieces are atrocious propaganda. So, they print this article about, oh, don't use critical thinking. Just listen to the experts. Listen to us. Oh, you might be critical thinking and looking at the Daily Stormer and alt-right, white supremacist, blah, 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 blah. Well, first, I reject your framing, because anyone who is alt-right, as Richard Spencer pointed out, is actually a progressive. All progressivism is about identity politics. It's about power politics. It's about authoritarianism. And it is about pitting people against other people instead of raising everyone up. And again, go watch Richard Spencer over on the Kill Stream debating Styx Sexenhammer about the Biden versus Trump election and who Spencer was voting for. He was voting for Biden. There's a reason for that, folks. He's a progressive. He always has been. And I know someone out there go, well, Bill, but he's a racist. Maybe he is. I don't know if he is. I think he just sees the world as a thing that cannot integrate based on, ethnicity. I don't necessarily agree with him. I think culture is more important, but ethnicity being, of course, culture and your genetic disposition, your race, if you would. But regardless, everything he wants and says is like, oh, no, there are no rights outside of the government. No, the government should provide this and give you that. The government should do this and that for you. The government should provide some form of socialism, some form of safety net. To which I always say, well, how good is that going to work for you out in the desert, out in the forest, out all by your lonesome? And again, this is an issue with leadership because the leaders have been teaching you to be a follower, but have never raised you up to be more. And folks, if you listen to me, in a way, I'm providing mentorship and leadership, but you think that I don't have my mentors and leaders out there? All of the YouTubers or whomever else you may watch out in the alternative media sphere, the independent media type sphere, are in some manner or another a leader to you. They are providing information. They are giving you some direction, or at least, if anything, they're a point of access of knowledge. But generally speaking, if you watch these folks regularly, it's because you respect them and you value their opinion to some degree. So I'm not asking to lead you anywhere, but you are deciding on your own, democratically, if you would, to follow. That's something different. But if I say you must follow by the force of a gun, well, that's authoritarianism. And again, I learned great lessons while in the Marine Corps, took them very much to heart about leadership and good leadership. And the most important thing that I can teach you about leadership is this. A good leader will always be as honest as possible with you. They will not mince words with you. They will tell you what they think of you in a polite way, not necessarily going to tear you down. And they will let you know what they think of your capabilities, but they will also work with you to bring those capabilities up where they lack. And they will give you responsibility to help you grow so that you can yourself become a leader and teach others. The current administration, and frankly, the system in general, for the last 100 years has wanted none of this from you. Now, there have been a few leaders, time and again, that have come up and sort of espoused these things, sort of threw them out into the ether, right? And sort of changed the direction, the flow of our government. For the most part, their efforts were moot. And the reason is because the institutions, those that have the power, those that can dictate and change the rules on a dime, those are the ones who are actually leading. And it's not because they're good leaders. It's because through coercive means, through underhandedness, they have done the things that they have done to gain the power and influence in which they have. But see, a good leader doesn't do that. They have integrity. They stand on their beliefs. They are principled. Like I said, they are truthful. And most importantly, again, they raise you up. They teach you how to fish. And guys, largely that's what I try and do to some degree on my channel. I'm giving you my thoughts and my opinions. I'm showing you information, but I'm not reading every little aspect of it. And I'm not telling you that I have everything right either. What I'm saying is, here is a nugget. Take it for what it's worth and go explore for yourself. Because without instilling some sort of personal responsibility in you, you will never be responsible. You will always remain a boy. You will always remain a child. You will never become fully a man who leads. And guys, this is like all over. I see it all the time with men is they defer to other folks. They don't take the responsibility of their own actions, and they don't learn to become better. Let me ask you this as far as the State of the Union goes and the leadership within it. When and where have they taught you how to fish? When and where have they taken responsibility for their actions? When and where have they been truthful to you? When and where have they tried to be better? Ask yourself these things. Think about where we are at. Look at institutions like the New York Times and the things that they write, or what say Time Magazine wrote about fortifying the election. We all know what that really means, right? That is some newspeak, doublethink type language. Fortify the election. Folks, these are not leaders. These are despots. They are tyrants. They do not care about you. They care about the bottom line. The bottom line is the almighty dollar. As the scriptures say, the root of all kinds of evil is the love of money. Some people read that translation without the all kinds part. Sure, the root of all evil is the love of money, but I don't think that makes sense scripturally. The point, though, is that money is a great driver towards selfishness, evilness, ego, just poor leadership. And that's the last thing I'm going to leave you on, is poor leadership is always selfish. And I've seen this in the military. I've seen this as a civilian working in law enforcement. I've seen this working in private security. Man, I've seen this working for just, I don't know. I worked for a photo lab for a little bit. I've worked at Pizza Hut and Papa John's. I've worked at FedEx, whatever other odd jobs that I've had. Poor leadership is always selfish. And my question to you to end this off is how selfless does your government come off to you? How selfless do they really seem? So guys, that is all I got. This has been All Minus One Quick Shots, and I wish you all well.